All right, welcome in everybody. Chatterbox Reds live in the bottom of the ninth inning. Cincinnati leads 2-0 over the Texas Rangers. Craig Sandlin joined by Mike Hart. Mike, how was your Saturday?
My Saturday was great. The weather was very nice. Went to a birthday party, got to swim around in a pool for a while, and then got to settle in, have dinner, and watch the Reds game with my parents are up in town. So it was a very pleasant evening. Let's hope that Emilio Pagan can finish it off and we can go home and be happy and excited about a 2-game win streak.
Wouldn't that be nice? Reds are currently up 2-0. Jake Berger at the plate down 0-2. Emilio Pagan on the mound for back-to-back save opportunities after picking up the save last night. He'll face 4, 5, 6, Jake Berger, Jock Peterson, and Josh Smith. As the 1-2 nearly hits Berger, gets out of the way.
Even the first two pitches, I'm looking at game day, first two pitches weren't in the zone either. No. Just got a foul and a swing strike. So he's 3-2 and he hasn't thrown a ball over the zone yet.
Yeah. Well, you might be ahead of me because you're looking at game day instead of the actual game.
Oh, sorry.
But the 2-2, in case you didn't know,
is a ball.
He's out of the zone as well. Do you have the game on, or are you just following on game day?
It's on in a TV in another room. I can get it on, okay. But I figured I'd not stress my internet anymore because I want my clear picture for everybody here.
Don't give it away.
I won't. I will keep it. I'll keep it.
Matters, but Jake Berger takes that pitch out of the zone as well and walks. So 6 pitches from Pagan in that at bat, all 6 out of the zone. Not the way you want to start.
All right, now you got a guy batting 0-0-0 with a .125 OPS. So this guy has yet to get a hit this year. I know he did have a couple hard hit balls, I think, earlier in the game, but let's challenge him here. Let's see if we can get him to.
First pitch won't do it. He is ball inside and down, and Jose Trevino will make a little trip out to the mound and try to settle Pagan down. You have to wonder, I have my TV muted, so I don't know. You have to wonder if Terry Francona doesn't get Connor Phillips back up and warming again. Connor Phillips was warming in the 6th, so I know Terry has said in the past that he doesn't like to get guys up and then sit them down and then bring them back up again. But you have to wonder if 7 straight pitches out of the zone doesn't make Terry kind of wonder, do I need to have somebody else ready? Because the last thing you want to have happen is Pagan just walk in the tying runs.
Right.
As that one finds the bottom of the zone and Peterson swings through it 1-1. The first pitch in the zone from Pagan so far this inning.
Well, the tough thing is Phillips has not shown necessarily pinpoint control either, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where there's a risk reward there. He's obviously got swing and miss stuff, which is probably what you need if he needs to come into this game. But you don't want him walking the farm either. Oh, you're gonna like what happens here, Craig.
Here we go. Ellie De La Cruz steps on the bag, throws it across the diamond. Double play.
Just how we drew it.
That makes it a little bit easier.
Yep. There we go. Nothing like getting you in the groove by having a guy ground into a double play.
Yep. Thank you, Jock Peterson.
I can't imagine what the Rangers fans are feeling right now. I'm curious, how many games has he played? Has he played all of these games? Is he a regular?
He couldn't have played all of them because he was 0 for 13, it said, right? So
he's played in 1, 2, 3, 4. He's only played this is his 5th game. Nope.
Well, now you bring up Josh Smith, who's hitting 125 on the year. 0 for 3 on the day. Jose Trevino robbing him of a hit in his last at bat. A nice little defensive play. We'll talk about the defense during the actual show, but
that's right. It's been quite impressive
with a nice play to get Josh Smith in his last at bat in the 7th.
Yeah, we could talk about that's there's been a couple plays, just like even plays that have been made that maybe even we made look easy that I don't think were nearly
as easy as they look.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then there was Friedel tripping over himself and diving for a ball that he didn't have to. So
I think he legitimately slipped on the chalk.
Oh, really? It looked like he
challenged it. I want to
Oh.
talk about that during the show, Mike. I want to talk about it during the show. I don't want to talk about it now. I think they're like overly conservative on challenging balls now.
You have two.
We'll talk about it during the show.
Ninth.
We'll talk about it on the show, Mike.
That's true. I was saying the same thing during the broadcast organically. It's just like if you don't get to keep them, you don't get to take them with you. Might as well use them.
Yep. The 3-1 is fouled away, and it'll be a full count, 2 outs. Pagan on Smith as the Reds look to close out and clinch the series here in Game 2 at Globe Life Field. The pitch, bottom of the zone, called a ball. I think it was a little low. Trevino is going to challenge this one, though, and we'll see.
Not going to win that one.
No, I think that was a touch low, and ABS confirms.
Pitch 4 is the one you want.
I know. He challenged the wrong one.
Yeah.
7/10 of an inch too low on the walk.
Well, I think Trevino heard you. You think you shouted loud enough? Is like, what are we doing? Why are we not challenging? He's like, oh, you're right, Craig. You're right.
My bad.
He's got the pitch comm in one ear and he's got Chatterbox Reds in the other ear. And so, he's dialed in.
All right. That'll bring up Josh Young. Righty matchup. Young 0 for 3 on the day. Struck out in his last at bat against Graham Ashcraft. Fouls away the first pitch. Yet another Texas Ranger batter who is below the Mendoza line. Not that the Reds can talk too much, but 111 on the year is Young.
These are the ones that you need to get
for the Rangers. The 0-1 right down the middle for strike 2. And Pagan a favorable position here against Young. 0-2.
Man, thanks for everyone chiming in, tuning in. Make sure you like the stream and subscribe as well. We need all the help we can get Pagan through this inning.
Wins. Likes equal wins.
Oh man, the chat is ahead too.
Well, don't tell me.
I don't look at the chat.
And sent in the gap. Ellie knocks it down but can't field it. It'll dribble out into left field. Smith will advance to third. The throw into second. And I assume that'll be ruled a single for Young.
All right. You have a run to play with here. Not that I want them to play with this run. I like them just to get Evan Carter out. But I'd rather face.
I don't know. You have to wonder if you don't pitch around Carter like they did last night in the similar situation to be able to face the righty matchup with Jansen. But
maybe. But then you put the winning run on first base, right?
I know. Trust me. I know. But the winning run's at the plate anyway. So is that much of a difference? I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe in Globe Life Field.
Ezekiel Duran will pinch run at first base again, representing the tying run. See if he tries to steal it all during this at bat. Evan Carter at the dish.
I would imagine
strike one at the top of the zone.
I don't know. Maybe they feel like the gaps are big enough. It's just like we're getting a guy in there who can score from first on a ball down up there. You know what I mean? 2 outs. He's running on contact.
Yep.
You don't even need to necessarily risk it to steal second.
Yep.
Which we already saw.
Swung on and fouled away. And now yet again, Pagan ahead 0-2.
Come on. Oh, man. Doesn't like to make it easy, does he?
No. I find it more and more common that closers don't like to make things easy. I don't know what it is about closers. It just feels like none of them, very few of them actually make it easy most of the time, as that one is way down low, 1-2.
Sometimes they need the adrenaline moving a little bit more.
The Reds will get Sam Moll up and warming.
Yeah. At this point, well, it's
doesn't matter. Swung on, struck out, 3 outs. Reds win 2-0, Mike. They'll take the series and they'll look for the sweep tomorrow against Texas. We'll be back in 4 minutes for your official Chatterbox Reds post-game show. We'll see you then.
Bench to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. That goes Clemente. And the save. He's done. Get out of here, baseball. He's gone. Oh, my God. Can you believe it? Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep. In the dirt. It's a wild pitch. Here comes Walker. The Reds win the pennant. Larkins won the game. That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none. Welcome, Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Hatteberg's a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive. Hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club. Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb. Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again. The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the line, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Red win! Line into right field. Genius, the first Red ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy moly, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
Mike, Reds win. 2-0 winners over the Texas Rangers. They clinch the series and move to Sunday looking for the sweep. Welcome in, everybody. Chatterbox Reds. I'm Craig Sandlin, joined by Mike Hart. Mike, your immediate takeaways from Saturday's wins.
Hey, anytime you're able to get a win, no matter how weird or ugly it might be, I guess I wouldn't call it ugly, but anytime you're able to get a win and secure a series, that's a victory here. That's a good thing. And another low-key thing here is we've kept the fireball alive for tomorrow. You're aware of that, right? Trace
That's
did
true.
only stay with sweeps.
Little Easter fireball sounds
I know.
sounds perfect.
So taking the first two here, really washing down the drain, the sting of those Pirates losses. Not everything was great, but when you get a pitching performance like you did from Rhett Lowder and the bullpen, man, it's refreshing. It was a quick game that moved along that I was pretty much, excited about the whole time. Got a little hairy there at the end, but boy, just glad we're able to come out with a victory there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was a fun one for sure. We'll break it down in just a minute. A lot on the rundown for us to chat through. Obviously, Rhett Lowder, solid defense. I think kind of went under the radar a little bit. That bullpen comes in and shuts it down for Rhett Lowder. But we will first want to take a second to thank our presenting sponsor, Sharefax Credit Union, title sponsor of Chatterbox Reds. Sharefax is a not-for-profit financial institution owned by its members that returns earnings to them through lower fees and better rates in addition to traditional banking options. You can apply for membership at sharefax.org if you live in one of our 12 counties, just like the rest of Cincinnati. Sharefax is fired up for the Cincinnati Reds baseball season and is ready to experience all the highs and lows together with the Chatterbox community. Sharefax Credit Union is insured by NCUA. Again, visit www.sharefax.org if you live in one of the 12 counties. All right, Mike, I've got a rundown ready to go, but let's just start it with just general performance today. I mean, you get 2 runs in the first inning. The rest of the way, it just blanks all across the board. Good performance by Lowder, good performance by the defense. Maybe you would have liked to see a little bit more from the offense, but overall, a good win for the Redlegs.
Yeah, I think they had Kumar Rocker on the ropes too. I think they maybe even could have had more. I think they got Sal to third, but weren't able to drive him in that first. I thought they could maybe even have gotten a little bit more in the first, and then in the second, or they had a few other opportunities against Rocker, and I felt like they kind of let him off the hook. So yeah, I guess you're happy with the win. You're happy with those 2 runs to set the tone early, but yeah, I think that there was definitely some things left to be desired. I was looking up some stats, but going into the game specifically, it just felt like, I know it's early. We're at, I guess, 7 games. This is our 8th game, right? So, but going into today, I looked up what the splits were with runners in scoring position, and get ready to cover your eyes, Craig, because the Reds rank 28th of 30 in runners in scoring position. That is 8 hits and 49 at bats. That's a 163 average and a 188 BABIP. So not even like they're getting unlucky. They just have been poor. And that's a 62 OPS plus. Only the Colorado Rockies and the Boston Red Sox are worse than the Reds at hitting with runners in scoring position. And to be honest, I think that kind of matches the eye test, right? We've gotten some home runs that have carried us. We've gotten some good pitching for the most part, right? Maybe a couple bullpen hiccups and a Brandon Williamson start. But like ultimately, where we've seen the struggles are we've got people into positions. We got another guy to third base with less than 2 outs, unable to drive him in. So yeah, it kind of, meets the eye test offensively, but you're glad you're able to get the pitching that you did in order to still come away with a win.
Absolutely. Let's talk about how we got there in this one with today's box score recap. Reds and Rangers back at Globe Life Field for game 2 of a 3-game set on Saturday. 2 highly touted young pitchers on the mound as Rhett Lowder faced off with Kumar Rocker. After being powered by the home run on Friday, the Reds used back-to-back singles from McLean, Ellie, and Stewart to take an early 2-0 lead. Matt McLean led off the 5th with an infield single, then perfectly read a wild pitch, allowing him to swipe second, plus an ill-advised throw by Jansen on the wild pitch snuck into center field, allowing McLean to reach third with nobody out. A 107-mile-per-hour bullet off the bat of Ellie De La Cruz was scooped by Corey Seager, and then Sal Stewart and Eugenio Suarez swung out swinging, stranding McLean at third. The score stayed 2-0 Reds. Rhett Lowder didn't allow a hit over his final 4 innings. He exits after 6 total innings of 3-hit shutout baseball, struck out 4 along the way while walking 2 on the day. 8 games into his young career, Rhett Lowder now boasts a 1.30 ERA. Graham Ashcraft works around a walk in a hitless 7th inning. Santillan works a perfect 8th. And then Emilio Pagan allows a walk in a single in the 9th, but strands the runners, striking out Evan Carter to secure the series win for the Reds. They win 2-0 and improve to 5-3 on the year. They'll look for the sweep on Sunday. And Mike, we had this conversation before we went live today. We have a couple options here, okay? Everybody knows what time is. It's time for the QC Kinetix deep drive of the day. We can talk about the deepest drive of the day from the Reds at the MLB level, or we can maybe give a little preview into Reds MILB and go down on the farm for the deep drive of the day. What are you feeling at this point in terms of the deep drive of the day? Do we need to do a poll in the chat?
Oh, interesting. I like that.
Which one do you think should be today's deep drive of the day presented by QC Kinetix? Should we go with the deepest drive from the Reds at the major league level, or should we go down on the farm? So far, I see 2 votes for going down on the farm, 3 votes for down on the farm.
We have to remember this ball was out in like 20 of 30 parks.
100%.
Yeah. Like this one is definitely out at Great American. I feel real bad for him because it was a great swing. And, we're talking about not hitting with runners in scoring position. Boy, it's hard to fault him for that, putting a swing like that on there. But it looks like the chat has spoken. I don't think I don't think we're
the chat has spoken.
Dane Meyer's not getting any love.
Going down on the farm for this one. All right. Your QC Kinetix deep drive of the day is none other than Rhys Hines, his 4th home run of the season, a line drive to right center field, 106.5 miles per hour off the bat, went 405 feet at 20 degrees of a launch angle, increased the Louisville Bats win probability 12.1% to 53% total. And I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to tell you how that one ended, just in case you don't already know. Make sure you stick around for Reds MILB for a full update on how that one went. Our deep drive of the day is sponsored by our friends at QC Kinetix. If knee pain or shoulder pain is slowing you down, whether it's on the golf course, the pickleball court, or even in the gym, it might be time to talk to the care team at QC Kinetix Cincinnati about regenerative medicine options. QC Kinetix takes a different approach, focusing on treatments designed to help your body heal and recover. They're conveniently located in Liberty Township, right across from Lakota East High School. See what the team at QC Kinetix is all about. Visit QCKinetix.com or call 513-655-3356. Better mobility starts with healing, not surgery. QC Kinetix. All right, Mike, we got to start this recap with Rhett Lowder. 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, just keeps getting better. 1.30 ERA now in his young career. I'm sure everybody heard the stat, but that is the 5th best in MLB history of any starter after their first 8 starts. And I'm just going to go out and say it. The best part about Rhett Lowder is that it doesn't seem hard to him. Like he just seems like he's out there tossing the ball. It doesn't have anything spectacular, but man, does he get the job done.
Yeah. Listen to this split. He threw 25 sinkers, 24 sliders, 19 four-seam fastballs, and 14 changeups. That is like 28%, 28%, or 30%, 29%, 23%, 17%. So it's just truly, I will throw any pitch at any time, and kept those guys off of any one of those. And for the most part, eliminated hard contact. I think he did get in a couple jams, maybe started because of some of the walks that he might have had, but overall, he pitches like a guy who doesn't look like he's in his, 8th start, right? He doesn't look like that. He looks like he pitches with the same moxie as Andrew Abbott does out there. Some guy who's just calm, collected. Yeah, there's a jam. It's all right. I will get get the ball in there, and my defense will pick it up behind me. So it's just so encouraging, because it's like, I know everyone came into this season for the Reds with just like super high expectations for Chase Burns. And we just forgot about this dude, Rhett Lowder. Maybe you didn't forget, but I kind of did. Forgot about this guy who, missed the season, but was great in the time he came up last year and has been spectacular for us so far. Now, do I think he's going to continue with this ERA? No, but if this is the fourth starter, third starter, depending on whenever Lodolo is planning on being back. So this is not something that this is much better than what you expect for anything out of a third starter. So it's just very, very encouraging to see from a guy like that.
Yeah, to your point, I don't know that I necessarily like forgot about Rhett Lowder per se, but I certainly didn't expect him to come back out in 2026 after being off for basically a year and 6 months or whatever it was. The last time he pitched on a major league mound was September 28th of 2024 after a couple injuries kind of sidelined his 2025 season. I went into this season completely expecting Rhett Lowder to need to start at the minor leagues, kind of work his way back, get kind of ramped back up, and then he comes out, he dominates in the spring, he earns his way into that 6-man rotation or whatever you want to call it that the Reds were planning on going with, and then with Lodolo's injury, Hunter Greene's injury, and everything else along the way, he steps in as, I guess, the 5th starter. But just like, this is why we were so positive about this Reds rotation, I think, is because they really had 6+ guys that you had faith in and day out if they were healthy, right? You talk about Hunter Greene's injuries, you talk about Nick Lodolo's injuries, but you had the depth there to think that, okay, if something happens, you can get through it. And they're showing early on this year exactly that. I mean, the pitching staff has done their job largely throughout this first 8 games of the year to make you believe that, hey, we know that we're not getting Hunter Greene back until at least the All-Star break, if not later. You know, you're not getting the Lodolo back now for probably close to a month, if I had to guess, by the time all is said and done. So to know that you've got Lowder, you've got Burns who will pitch tomorrow night. Obviously, Abbott has come out this year and after a sour spring really showed why he is your opening day starter. And so at this point, you have to feel pretty good about the starting rotation, despite the fact that your 1 and 2 guy are on the sidelines. Like, where do Hunter Greene and Nick Lodolo rank now within this starting rotation as we sit here today?
Oh, that's a good question. I think healthy, they're probably still 1 and 2. But like if we were at that point where they were healthy, or maybe we get to in the middle of the season where they both are back healthy, I think they're still 1 and 2. Those are still the guys you run out there as game 1 and game 2 starter of a playoff series if you have that control. But yeah, it's tightening up for sure. I think like Chase Burns it definitely has the ability to be able to run that up there and make that too. And like I said, Rhett Lowder as well is somebody that, if he just keep pitching like that, it's pretty hard for you to say that he isn't up there as well, because, yes, he doesn't, average, velocity of his 4-seam, right? It's not 98, 100, but if you're just going to keep getting people out and have good control like he's shown, I don't know why why you can't feel good about maybe having Lowder as your 2, and it makes you also feel pretty good about the future as well, right? Obviously you never know with injury, but it's just like Lodolo hurt, and I believe in his last year of his contract, right, this year. So it's just like the odds of him being on this team next year, not very high. And it feels like with what they have here, it's like, well, they have what it takes to be able to compensate for that next year, which is good. When you're looking at what the depth is for the years in the future, it's great to see something like that.
Lodolo has 1 more year on his contract, but Brady Singer's in the final year of his contract.
That's right.
So you wonder what happens there, especially, it'll be an interesting conversation. You expect to get Hunter Greene back at the All-Star break. You expect at that point, you'll have Nick Lodolo, hopefully cemented in your rotation and past this blister issue that he's facing. And at that point, you're going to have 7 legitimate major league starters. And depending on where you are, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, I don't even have it on the rundown, but obviously the offense struggled a little bit tonight, but still a win. Is Brady Singer in the last year of his contract a piece that could be traded away for maybe a bat at the All-Star break? Or, and the other piece of this is I talked about this a little bit last night, like Brady Singer is that guy that just like, he's so reliable. And for a Reds team that's been kind of hindered by starting pitching rotation injuries, like, is that something you can really give up? And if you don't trade one of them away, how do you manage 7 major league quality rotation arms in the second half of a season that you're hopefully competing for a playoff race?
Yeah, I think they manage it similar to how they did it last year by moving Burns to the bullpen. I don't think that Burns will come like a 1 or 2 inning guy, but I would imagine that as you get people healthy, they're gonna potentially move to some of these like piggyback starts where it's like you go 5 or you go 4 even, and the next guy goes 3 or something like that. Now it's always tough because like not every game goes the way that it feels like it. Sometimes it makes it easy for you to be able to do that. And sometimes a guy's rolling and you're just like, I don't, it later in the season, are you cool? Rhett Lowder pitching a game like he did today and they pull him after the 5th inning because they want to bring somebody else in because they want to manage his innings like that. When you're like fighting for every game, that feels tough. Right. So that's going to be tough to do, but I would imagine there's going to be, I know for coming off of Tommy John, Brandon Williamson is for sure going to get some sort of innings cap in there. Now, based on his performance, we'll see, how much of that ends up being at the big league level. But he's been pretty, he showed in spring he was good. But I would imagine they do some sort of mixing and matching once everybody's healthy back to, both limit innings, but also keep these great arms in the big leagues.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to watch, and I'm certainly going to be glued to the TV trying to figure out how you manage it. Obviously, it's all dependent on everybody being healthy. But look, Rhett Lowder again, absolutely dominant tonight. He has been dominant in basically every start he's made for the Reds, and I think we knew coming out of college that he was a guy that was going to be able to slot in pretty quickly and be able to step into this kind of performance. But I don't know that anybody really could have expected this per se, right? No. I mean, everybody knew the type of quote unquote, the term was used is pitchability, right? Like the pitchability of Rhett Lowder. And you mentioned it earlier about he threw 5 different pitches and they were all like what 20% or higher, or I guess 15% or higher, something like that.
4 pitches,
4 different pitches.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that makes it incredibly difficult to be able to hit against a guy when you have no idea what's coming, right? We talk about funneling a lot, and you hear the guys talk about funneling. And when you have 4 different pitches and they all go 4 different directions, even though they all start looking the exact same, that's where people don't really understand how difficult hitting a Major League Baseball is, because it's not just going up there and hitting a 4-seam fastball off of a high schooler that it's straight down the pipe. These are 4 drastically different pitches that are all starting in the same place and moving away. And it really makes Rhett Lowder a dangerous pitcher. What also makes Rhett Lowder as a dangerous pitcher is a guy who relies on ball and play is when he has solid defense behind him, like he did tonight. And I don't know that the plays necessarily looked as difficult as they were. There were 3 plays in particular that stand out to me. 2 by Will Benson, one of which he was moving to his right and got it in the gap, one of which to his left and got it on the warning track near the foul line. But then also Jose Trevino on a little dribbler out in front of the plate by Josh Smith, goes out, picks it while he's spinning, makes a great throw to first base to be able to record that out as well. Those are 3 fantastic plays. And for a guy who relies on the ball being put in play, to know that you can rely on your defense behind you for the most part, that's a pretty good place to be in.
Yeah. A guy who actually, if you look at this guy compared to his last start or even his average, his velocity was actually a tick down, and he only got six swing and misses in this game. So it's not, I would even put forth that Rhett Lowder didn't even have his best stuff tonight, and he threw 6 shutout innings. He was just finding a way to, limit a bunch of hard contact and got a bunch of really good defense behind him. That ball in the gap that Benson ran down, I stood up and was like, that is why he should be playing center field. That was my thought, because not only did he get an incredible read on, they showed the replay, and it's like his first step was before Friedel even moved, it felt like. And then obviously, Benson was the one that ran it down, but it was just like, that was so nice to be able to go out into that cavernous outfield and run that ball down. And I don't know how to look up like catch probability until like it gets loaded for the next day, like the StatCast numbers get loaded. So I don't know specifically what its catch probability was, but I would imagine that is probably pretty good. And we'll be able to look at some of these catches, even like a few of the ones that Dane Myers was coming in on. Like he made that look pretty easy, but I think there were a couple where he got some really good jumps and made a play that looked easy that maybe wasn't as easy as possible. And then we're also forgetting the Friedel tripping over the chalk line, yet still diving and making the play in foul territory to end that inning as well. So you're right. Just a lot of really good plays. And I think Suarez snagged a line drive as well. I don't think the Reds have made an error outside of like a wild pitch or a pass ball yet. Now, I think
they haven't made an error, period.
I think there have been maybe a couple of misplays, so that maybe were hits that could have been errors. But, overall, I think the defense this year has been solid. And so that's huge. I think, that whenever the Reds play clean and not sloppy, remember all the balls we booted around at third base with Candelario and Marte there. Ellie has looked pretty sharp this year, knock on wood. Hopefully he's able to keep. I know
purposefully not been bringing it up, Mike.
I'm sorry, but I want to give him flowers because he's looked good. He's made a couple big plays, but more importantly, has made every single easy play, and that is the one that what we've been harping on. It's just like you've got all the tools to make the fantastic plays, but he's been buckled down to make the easy plays. Watch him go make an error tomorrow. I'm sorry. Everyone can get in the chat and blame me. That'll be on me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jinx it, but my overall point stands. The defense has looked very good this year, and I'm glad that the pitchers are able to have somebody behind them that's gonna pick them up when they have them put the ball in play.
Yeah, Ellie's had, if I'm remembering correctly, he's had like 2 balls that have got past him that like maybe you would have liked to see him make those plays. One of which I think was to his left where he just wasn't able to get down quick enough instead of getting in front of the ball. And then there was even one, I think tonight, that just kind of ate him up a little bit, which was a base hit. But like those are plays you'd like to see him make, but certainly understand that they weren't made, I guess. It's funny. You mentioned the TJ Friedel catch. I think that's a play that was made to look worse than it really was because he did slip on the chalk. It looked like he lost his footing there. But that was another kind of like big time play. And I get it. He's lost a step. He was playing in left field at that point, but that was the 3rd out of an inning against Jock Peterson. If that ball falls, I think it was probably going to be foul anyway,
foul ball,
but like,
yeah.
You still to make that play and get out of the inning at that point. That was the last out that Lowder threw. Wrap up a really solid day for Rhett Lowder, 4 straight innings without a hit at that point. And I mean, the defense in general, just very good. But I do want to also ask you about this. And it, they face a right-handed pitcher tonight in Kumar Rocker. And then you get to the later innings when they go to the bullpen. And it was interesting to me, at least. And Mike, I'm interested in your take on kind of how Tito managed the lineup and the defensive changes later on in the game, right? So you get to the 6th inning and they bring in, I think his first name is Jalen Beeks, their reliever, left-handed reliever. You're almost kind of forced at that point to leave Nathaniel Lowe in the game, even though it's a lefty-lefty matchup, just because he's your designated hitter. I don't know that you have really like a better option because your bench at that point is Noelvi Marte, who doesn't hit left-handed pitching well, Brian Hayes, who you're not going to bring in at that point to be your DH, and then Tyler Stevenson, who we all know they're going to save in case you need to pinch hit for Trevino or if Trevino gets hurt for any reason. And so Nathaniel Lowe's forced to stay in the game at that point. Then you get Steer, and then you bring in Dane Myers for Will Benson, and Myers hit an absolute tank, right? We talked about this at kind of the top a little bit. This is a ball that Dane Myers hit 413 feet, 104.7 miles per hour off the bench. Unfortunately, was caught by Evan Carter in the deepest part of the field, but that was a ball that is gone in 20 out of 30 ballparks. And quite frankly, a couple feet either direction might have been gone in this ballpark as well. But it just kind of leaves you in a position where this team isn't really set up to be able to go against a right-handed starter and then adjust to left-handed relievers, at least in my eyes. Your thoughts on just kind of how the end of the game played out in that way?
Yeah, I remember when Lowe took that at bat, I was like, why are we not seeing Myers here? And then I was like, well, okay, they probably want to bring Myers in for defense. So it makes sense that they then pinch hit for Benson. But yeah, there really isn't somebody there that maybe is somebody that you would say would be a great upgrade. I guess maybe Stevenson, but then you're burning your catcher in your DH spot, which we've seen Tito really doesn't like to do. Another thing to take into account. Last year, this is just last year. A career, it's a little bit different, but last year Jalen Beeks actually gave up, a higher average and more hits to lefties than to righties. So you talk about pitchers having reverse slips, batters having reverse slips. Pitchers can also have that too. So I would imagine that probably his success against lefties probably tilted the scales a little bit as well. And that's why they kind of let Nathaniel Lowe in. It ended up working because Lowe then got to face a righty later in the game, so that was good. But I think what's interesting is that through all of this, we still never saw Marte. And I know there's been in the last maybe 5 shows, we've talked about where does he fit in this lineup. And it's tough because, I know that Tito knows that he has reverse splits, yet he refuses to honor that play him like he has reverse splits, right? He said in spring training, he knows he's got to get better against lefties and then has only basically given him at bats against lefties. So I don't know. To me, it feels like his days may be numbered here. Cynically, I mentioned this to you ahead of before we went live, but cynically, it feels like maybe they're keeping him up until April 11th when his bobblehead is basically he's here another week for him to be there for when they do his game robbing catch bobblehead, and then we see him go down. I don't know, maybe Rhys Hines has cooled off by then, but it's going to be interesting. He does kind of feel like the person that would benefit from going and playing every day, right? And we saw that last year. He started in AAA and then, played his way onto the roster. So I do think that he would benefit not only playing every day for defensive reps, but also for, being able to get offensive reps against potentially both-handed pitchers and stuff like that. So I don't know if he continues to hit like this. I don't see how, especially with somebody like Rhys Hines knocking on the door so loudly, hitting a home run basically every other day. It's hard to see where he fits at the moment with everyone, the way that everyone else is playing.
Yeah. I'm looking up real quick and not that I don't think they would do this anyway, but the last time a bobblehead game was canceled was actually last year.
CES, right?
Well, not for the Reds. I'm just talking in general.
Oh.
The looks like the Dodgers canceled a Joe Davis bobblehead giveaway.
The announcer? Joe Davis, I think, is their play-by-play guy.
Yeah. Originally scheduled for July 6th, was removed from the Dodgers promotional schedule. Oh, but then it was rescheduled. So it must have just been a supply issue for that one. But then not to open wounds, but a Trevor Bauer Dodgers bobblehead was canceled back in 2021. So that's another one. Anyway, by the way, Trevor Bauer back in baseball in America, independent league signing on earlier this week. So shout out to Trevor Bauer, I guess. All right. Last thoughts on the defense, if anything?
No, I think it's been great. And I'm excited that that's not something that we feel worried about as we go into it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's take a second to remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health. Whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between, it's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay. All right, let's talk about the bullpen, and we get into our super chats now, and we got a $5 super chat from Ned Flanders. At this point, do you think Pagan is just messing with us? I think the obvious answer here is no. But Mike, he allows 2 base runners here in the 9th inning when he comes in for the save, including a walk on 7 pitches, but all 7 were out of the zone, and then gives up a base hit to Josh Smith, right? So
I think
or was it another walk and then a
base hit
single
to Young.
Josh Young? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So allowed 3 base runners. I was wrong in my box score recap. You'll forgive me, I'm sure. Is Pagan messing with us?
No, he does. It's funny. I actually listened to the Jim Day podcast recently with Emilio Pagan on there, and he did say on there that he loves it when he makes it hairy. He understands that the fans don't love it nearly as much as he does, but I guess I don't think he's messing with us. He's definitely not trying to get it to look like that. But it is concerning. Obviously, yesterday looks pretty good, which was good. But, it's not something that it feels sustainable at this level. I think he can still get dialed in and get back to what majority of the year was last year for him. 30 plus saves. Yes, I do. I don't think he's cooked. I don't think he's done for his career. However, at the current rate that he's going, I don't know how sustainable it is for him to go. He's obviously, only blown 1 save. I think he's 3 saves and he's blown 1. So, and to be honest, if you watch any baseball around the league, lots of closers like to make it interesting. Everyone likes to think it's like only my closer is the one that's struggling, when actually there's lots of closers around the league that are, maybe get off to a little bit of a slower start in April, but ultimately has found a way in three outings here to, get the save. So, I hope it does improve, and I think he's going to need to improve. He's going to stay in that closing role. We've seen Santillan really pick it up and look great in his last 2 outings. Obviously, we had Connor Phillips who's looked good, but yet struggled with walks. Graham Ashcraft continued to look like super nasty. Like it's just like this getting little league swings, swinging the balls in the dirt. A bunch of check swings because they don't want to, but they can't help themselves. So there's a lot of firepower. People are looking pretty good in the bullpen. So at this current rate, I don't know if he can maintain it, but I still think that he has the ability to dial it in and get back to his good form.
Yeah, certainly hope so. Because if the Reds are going to continue to lean on him in that closer role, you certainly don't want to have a whole lot of blown saves throughout the year. Had a 2-run cushion in this one, but doesn't make it any less nerve-wracking.
Probably not going tomorrow, though. So I bet you, Santillan and Pagan are 2 days, and Ashcraft are both 2 days in a row. Probably not tomorrow unless it's like extra innings. So we may get Connor Phillips save opportunity number 2 tomorrow. He warmed up but didn't come in. So who knows? We'll see. Maybe even get a Julian Aguilar as a piggyback on top of Chase Burns. Let's hope that we're up by a couple runs so we don't have to worry too much about that aspect of it.
Yeah, Pagan threw 13 pitches on Friday, 17 for Ashcraft, 10 for Santillan. You mentioned Phillips got up and warm today. Sam Moll also got up and warm today. Leaves most likely available for tomorrow after back-to-back nights for Pagan, Ashcraft, and Santillan. Most likely going to have Phillips, Moll, Franco, Johnson, and Burke available for that one. And how do I want to put this? Knowing Terry Francona, they will likely need them because Chase Burns on the mound tomorrow. Terry doesn't like to play around with Chase Burns a whole lot right now. Probably hope that he gets through 5 or 6 innings and then turn it over to your bullpen regardless. So hopefully everybody's nice and warmed up and ready to go. Be interesting to see if they piggyback Jose Franco again. He hasn't pitched since Monday, through 35 pitches that day, but hasn't pitched since then. Pierce Johnson and Brock Burke both haven't thrown since Tuesday. So both of them are also fresh and ready to go for tomorrow. I do want to also talk about one other thing when we talk about the bullpen, and we talked about it in the 9th inning, Mike. The other day, I want to say it was Thursday. No, it wasn't Thursday because they didn't play on Thursday. I want to say it was Wednesday. There was a pitch challenged by Sal Stewart. And Jim Day kind of came on and said, based on the conversation here in the dugout, Sal Stewart's going to hear about that one. And we've got this like history with Terry Francona of like overreacting a little bit at what I would say are like smaller things, right? Maybe things that certainly can be addressed, but like maybe are just overreactions. And now over the last 2 games, especially, it feels like the Reds have become maybe a little overly cautious when it comes to challenging pitches. There were multiple opportunities, I felt like, tonight for Reds, both on offense and on defense, to challenge pitches that they didn't utilize those opportunities. Jose Trevino ultimately challenges a pitch in the 9th inning that was a blatant ball after not challenging a pitch earlier in the at-bat that you and I both thought probably could have been a strike and was worth challenging. I know we don't know for sure, but do you think Terry said something on Wednesday? And do you think that's why we're seeing this? Or do you think they're just kind of adjusting to the ABS system and that's why we're kind of seeing them kind of ebb and flow with how they treat it?
Yeah, I don't think that it is I don't think it's Terry sat everyone down and was like, hey, this better not happen again. Do not, you better not use a challenge unless it is so obvious before the 6th inning. Like, I don't think that happened. But I do think the Reds, just as a whole, their strategy has been to be overly conservative with it, right? They're just like, we're just like, for the most part, maybe even before the 6th inning, we're just not even we're not like, you don't really have the green light unless it's amazing. That's why we saw the reaction that we got out of Sal Stewart. So I don't think that it is like hey, you shall not, but I think the overall strategy seems to be a little bit more conservative. And I think another thing you got to remember too is, like, for a lot of these players, maybe not Sal Stewart, who played in the minor leagues last year, but a lot of these players, this is still relatively new. We're talking, spring training games in which you're getting a couple at bats the whole time utilizing the system, and now only 8 games using this in real life. So it's like, I think that there is still a feeling out period. And I think some teams are choosing to do this in I'll just go ahead. Saw the Twins, I think, have more challenges than anyone else in baseball, and it's not close. They're just like, yeah, go for it. We're going to challenge them. And they've done pretty good. However, I think with the Reds, they're clearly holding on to them more. And I would suspect that that's potentially something that's going to change as the year goes on. I think people are going to be a little bit more dialed into where that strike zone is after getting more and more at bats with it. And I think that we'll be able to strategically use that challenge a little bit more throughout the game. But yeah, you're right. There has definitely been some ones where it's like, this feels pretty obvious for you to do that. And haven't gotten a challenge out of it. And part of it too is, like, we've seen the challenges. I think we've seen a lot of Reds challenges on, like, counts where it's like it ends the at bat. Like, that was strike 3. No, we'll challenge it. Obviously, famously, we have the Suarez 2 overturns in 1 at bat. But I think maybe that is more what it is. It's like, hey, unless it's like egregious, if it's not ending your even if it's flipping you from 2-1 to 1-2, which is huge when you look at the numbers, let's lay off. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Craig? It seems like you think that they should be a little bit more aggressive with it.
Well, I just think that, especially when you're on defense, right? You're pitching. The numbers are such that the catchers are having really good success with ABS, right? And there's going to be times like tonight where Jose Trevino used a challenge in a situation where maybe he didn't even believe it was really a strike, but it was one of those pitches. I think it was literally ball 4 on a 3-2 pitch. So he used it in that situation because of the high impact possibility. But, like, I feel like, from my perspective at least, I would just view it strictly based on confidence. My approach to ABS is very little to do with situation. And there are certainly going to be times, especially late in the game, where it's maybe more worth it than others, and you can be a little bit more lenient with your confidence level in terms of where you are. But for me, it just feels like, if you see, especially as a catcher, if you see a pitch that you're like 99% sure was a strike, just challenge it. Like,
yeah.
Those are the situations for me that are frustrating, is when it's like, at least seemingly based on the television, seemingly a strike, very obviously that they don't use it. Right.
Yeah.
Versus saving it for higher impact opportunities. It just, you get to keep it if you're right. So if you're right, use it.
And interestingly enough, it looks like the Reds have used 11 challenges as the batter, which is tied for third, right? So they're as the batter, they have used that. I think part of that is skewed by a single CB Buckner game, but they've only used the challenge 3 times. And I think that's just going into today's game. So that may be 4 times now because Trevino used it. Only 3 times. That's only the Rangers have used it less as the fielding team. So as the catcher or the pitcher, right? So I think that is an interesting thing too, that it's just like we basically haven't utilized that as a strategy at all, as as the catcher. And so I think that's interesting. One thing that Jim Day did mention is that for the catchers, part of it is feeling out like what that system is like, and it's just like getting used to understanding that the zone, the much more consistent zone now. So, there's no way that we stay at a 0.8% challenge rate and only, we're second to last when it comes to challenges. I would imagine that number for the catcher is going to go up, right? That I would imagine that as the year goes on, as Stevenson and Trevino get more dialed into, especially what the Great American Ballpark strike zone is, like that will go up. But yeah, I would like to see them use it more, especially because it's like how many games have we ended with 2 challenges? Like it feels like, and we didn't even use, I feel like Trevino's challenge today, maybe didn't even believe it. He just was like, well, at least we have it. It's the 9th inning. It's just like there were pitches in the 8th. When you have 2 challenges left, I feel like you should have much more of a green light on being able to do that coming into it. Especially if you have 2 challenges less. I get being overly conservative. You only have 1 left. You don't want to be what happened with the Red Sox, right? Where they ran out of challenges and then CB Buckner expanded the zone forever on them. We don't want to be in that position. But when you have 2, like as you get into the 7th, 8th, 9th, like I feel like you need to be more aggressive with it.
Yeah. The other piece of it, and Ned makes a joke in the chat. But I think there's some legitimacy to it. And he said maybe Trevino just doesn't know the strike zone that well. And I don't think this is a comment about Trevino, so don't take it this way. I just think the way that the strike zone is called with ABS specifically is not a traditional strike zone, right? It's based on percentage of height. And so, and it's not the entire plate. It's specifically halfway through the plate. And so as a catcher, you may be like, wow, that caught a piece of the plate or caught the bottom of the knees, but like, is that 16.7% of the batter's height? I don't know. Yeah. So that might play into it as well, where look, that on a traditional strike zone is absolutely a strike every single day. But with this ABS thing, my confidence level is different because I just don't know how it's going to shake out for that particular batter, where maybe, and it's tough because you have to do it immediately, right? But like maybe on those little flip cards that they have that talk about every batter, maybe there needs to be a little chart about where that batter's strike zone is so that the catcher knows, okay, well, this guy's strike zone is actually a little above his knees to wherever, or this guy's strike zone is a little bit lower than maybe you would anticipate for somebody. So maybe there's an opportunity there to be able to kind of communicate the strike zone a little bit better, but that catcher's got to be on it and ready to go, because it's not like you can check it and be like, all right, yep, this guy's strike zone's lower than the other one, tap it, we can challenge it. You got to go right away. And so
it's just recalibrating, right? It's different than they've played for literally every other season of baseball that they've ever had. So,
but it's not recalibrating because it's not consistent. And so that's the difference, right? It's it would be recalibrating if it was consistent for every batter, right? Every batter historically has been the bottom of the knees to midway through the armpits to the waist. Now it's this like percentage of height. And so it's not always going to be hollows of the kneecaps all the way. Like you just don't know because, Aaron Judge has these super long legs that maybe his strike zone's actually a little bit lower than his knee versus Jose Altuve's, who is actually like slightly above the knee or like whatever it may be.
Right.
Where it's not necessarily straight recalibration because it's not consistent. And it's consistent in terms of height, but it's not consistent in terms of like where that aligns with the batter's body. And so that's what makes it difficult for me without really knowing.
But it is consistent on the outside of the plate, the inside outside.
It is, yes,
you know what I mean?
100%. So 100%. And some of the calls that we were talking about, especially the one in the 9th inning that Trevino didn't challenge, that one was on the outside corner that wasn't challenged. So that's a good point. inside outside doesn't change.
Yeah.
That part doesn't change. But again, if you're talking about a guy with a lot of movement on your pitch and it's only specifically halfway through the plate, maybe that changes a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it catches the front edge, but it doesn't catch the middle.
Yeah.
It's tough. That's, again, that is traditionally a strike if it catches the front edge and then works its way out of the zone. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore. It's a very difficult system to try and adjust to. I would like personally, and I know that this is like nobody cares what I think. I would like them to try and figure out a system that encompasses an entire plate, because that's legitimately what the strike zone is written as, right? Is that it's the entire plate. If it touches it at any point as it crosses the plate, then it's a strike.
I read that was actually what the strike zone was when they first started, and they had to abandon it because there were like knuckleballs and extremely looping curveballs that would catch like the sliver of the plate and then bounce, and they'd be like, well, ABS says that's a strike. So they made it thinner, that sheet of glass, because they were like, hey, we're trying to eliminate some of these crazy outliers that are barely nicking the strike zone. So I don't know if they'll ever go to what you're saying, but that's interesting.
But imagine a Nick Lodolo curveball. We've seen those curveballs
like,
against right-handed batters that like swipes all the way across the plate and ends up in the batter's back right foot. Like, I don't know, but I would be interested to see how many of those actually catch like the front corner of the plate and are actually technically a strike that aren't called that because it ends up so far out of the zone.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting conversation. We're never going to solve it. And quite honestly, I think one of the challenges is we've heard some national media talk over the last couple of days, and I didn't expect this to be the longest segment of the night, but we've heard some of the national media talk over the last couple of days about realistically at this point, you have to expect MLB to just move to a fully automated balls and strike zone, where similar to what we've seen, I think in the Atlantic League in the past, where the umpire wears basically an AirPod that just signals if each pitch is a ball or strike. And it's up to the umpire to relay that. And then also if that system malfunctions for any reason, then they're there to make that call or to potentially override it. Let's say a ball bounces 50 feet and then, jumps up into the strike zone. That's not a strike. They have the ability to override that, but it sounds like that may ultimately be where we are at in 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
But how do they adjust what that strike zone is over the course of those 3 to 5 years is what really is going to make it interesting and determine how that move to a fully automated system is received at the major league level.
Yeah. My guess is that next year they make a small tweak to this current system, kind of like they did with the pitch clock, and they make it 3 challenges. I think that they maybe bump it up one more to have 3 challenges. And then eventually they will go to full ABS. If you think about it, like you really only need that for a small percentage of the pitches, right? For the ones that are very obvious, like right down the middles any ball put in play, any ball that is, very well outside, you don't really need the ABS for, because it's just like, it's pretty clear. It's just anything around the edges that you would potentially need it for. But yeah, I am interested to see where this goes. I like the challenge system better than full ABS. I know Nick Kirby's going to hunt me down and be mad at me for that, but like, I do like the aspect of like, yeah, but you got to know, and you got to like make the call to prove that you're right. I kind of like that. I get the argument though, of like, I just want it to be right every time. Right.
It's electric though.
I
mean, it's freaking electric and it's the loudest the crowd gets, but it's also interesting because there was discourse on Twitter earlier today and over the last little bit, a ball that like literally just barely nicks the corner of the zone that was initially called a ball that's now called a strike. Like, first of all, that's electric in the stadium to be able to overturn that. But like, also you can't expect an umpire to get every one of those right. But also like, I get the whole conversation about a human element, right?
Yeah.
I'm completely opposed to the whole idea of like, oh, X% of the ball needs to be in the zone, because that's just not what the strike zone is.
Yeah.
Plus again, going back to our original conversation, like if that ball just barely nicked it halfway through the plate, I'm sure at some point during the path it was more or less in the zone than it was. It's not like it's just stuck right there on the corner the entire way. But yeah, it's interesting. I guess when you say you expect some kind of tinkering over the next year or so, what do you think that looks like?
Yeah, I think it is. They may adjust like the percentages for what it is, height wise for the strike zone, maybe a little bit, but not anything that I think is too terribly crazy. But I think that they're going to add to the number of challenges. Like I think that you're just going to get it to the point, kind of like mound visits. Remember mound visits? Everyone was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know how this is going to be. Now there's like enough so that basically nobody runs out, but enough to make you not go to the mound every other pitch,
right.
So I think we land somewhere in there where it's like enough so nobody is sitting there being like, crap, we're out of all of our challenges, but not so much that every ball we're challenging just because we can, so I think we probably land somewhere in there in the future.
Yeah. All right, super chat coming in from Michael Rolfe, $20. We appreciate you, Meat, as always. The Rangers should have known better than to play Cotton Eye Joe when Graham Ashcraft was warming up for the bottom of the seventh. He grew up on that song way down in Alabama. ATOB, TTR, happy Easter to all who celebrate. Great show, guys. Rolfe, we appreciate you as always. We hope everybody has a fantastic Easter tomorrow or later today if you're listening to this in the podcast version. Mike, any final thoughts on tonight's action before we get into MILB and what's coming up next?
No, just that Graham Ashcraft, still looked nasty. Got so many of the like those check swings where it's just like they appealed, but everyone's like, nope, he for sure went. Those are some of my favorites. It's just like I want to stop, but I can't. So good all for him. Maybe it was Cotton Eye Joe that maybe if they can get Cotton Eye Joe going again, he could pitch his third day in a row tomorrow. Who knows?
There you go. You never know. Never know. All right, let's take a look down on the farm. Louisville fell to the Iowa Cubs 8-6 in a rain-shortened game. They played just 6 innings in that one before it was called due to rain. The Bats have now lost 4 straight and sit at 4-4 on the season. Lyon Richardson pitched 2 scoreless innings, and Kyle Nicholas added a perfect inning of his own. But as we talked about earlier, the main story here, Rhys Hines 1 for 2 on the day with his 4th home run of the year. I wanted to put a little context around this 4th home run from Rhys Hines. Yesterday, everybody saw the Elly De La Cruz home run. That one was hit off the bat at 20-degree launch angle and went 385 feet, and it was an absolute missile. Rhys Hines' home run today also hit at 20 degrees, 106.5 miles an hour, except this one, 405 feet at just 20 degrees. He also added a walk in this one. Blake Dunn was 1 for 4 with an RBI. JJ Bleday 1 for 2 with a double and 2 RBI. Hector Rodriguez 1 for 2 with a double and a walk. Elsewhere in the minor leagues, Chattanooga went absolutely crazy in the 4th inning. They put up an 11 spot in that one. They currently lead 13-0 in the top of the 6th over Columbus, the Clippers there. Carlos Jorge is 1 for 4. Leo Balcazar, how about this? 3 for 4 on the night, 2 RBIs. Cam Collier, 1 for 3. Ruben Ibarra, 1 for 4 with a double. Sasaki is 2 for 3. Ethan Hendrick, 2 for 4. Xavier Warren, 3 for 4 and added his 1st home run of the year. And then Vargas is 2 for 3 on the day as well there for the Lookouts on the mound. Kevin Abel, he's now 5 innings of no-hit baseball. He's walked 4 and struck out 4. So no hitter watch there in Columbus for the Lookouts as Kevin Abel, 5 innings so far of hitless baseball for the Lookouts. Dayton and the Lansing Lugnuts were rained out, so they'll make that one up later in April. And Daytona Tortugas, they fall 14-1 to the Jupiter Hammerheads. Not a good day for Daytona. Portes, 4 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs. Greene gave up 7 earned runs without recording an out. That included 4 walks and only 2 hits. So tough outing there for Griffin Greene. McCoy, 2 innings of 2-run baseball. Payano, 1 inning. And Villani, 1 1/3, no hits, 1 run for Daytona. All right. Look ahead to go ahead.
One thing, Craig, Columbus in the AA is actually Columbus, Georgia. That's the Columbus Queen Stones. Columbus in AAA, that's the one. That's the Clippers. That's in Columbus, Ohio.
There you go. I saw Columbus and I just made an assumption. Wasn't even thinking, but you're right. I see the little peach logo now.
Yeah, Clean Stones, whatever that means.
Well, I think that it's the type of peach.
Oh, it is?
The stone is like the pit of the peach. And the clean
I see,
stone
yeah.
is
Yeah.
Anyway, things I shouldn't know. We got another $20 super chat from Rolf. Chase Burns is going to be filthy tomorrow. Am I wrong in going ahead and dusting off the broom in preparation for tomorrow? I thought Jack Leiter was moved to the bullpen with the Mets. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Mike, actually, before you answer that, let's do up next with the Reds tomorrow, what that matchup is looking like. It is, in fact, Chase Burns going up against Jack Leiter in the series finale. That'll be at 2:35 Eastern time on Sunday, the middle of your Easter Sunday. Maybe it'll be done just in time for Easter dinner. I hope you'll join us still on the post-game show at 9 p.m. Nick and Trace will be back on that one to recap Chase Burns versus Jack Leiter. Burns on the season 1-0 with a 0.00 ERA after going 5 innings of 1-hit baseball against the Pittsburgh Pirates back on March 30th. He walked 3 in that one and struck out 7 on 78 pitches. In 2025, he started 8 games, pitched in 13 with a 4.57 ERA. We all know, of course, that was ballooned on 1 bad outing against the Boston Red Sox. Jack Leiter, on the other hand, 1-0 on the year with a 3.0 ERA. He pitched against Baltimore on the 30th. He went 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts on 92 pitches. He throws 6 pitches, a changeup, slider, 4-seamer, curveball, sinker, and cutter. This one, of course, back on Reds TV. Mike, should Michael Rolfe get his broom out for Sunday on Easter Sunday?
This is what you do. You get the broom out and you actually use it to sweep your floor. You say, hey, honey, I'm going to actually do some chores here. And that way you are not putting it into ether, maybe jinxing it like I might have done to Ellie De La Cruz earlier. But you're cleaning your house, but you're getting it ready to then have it for the 9th inning when we do the sweep. So that's what you do. You break it out and actually do some chores. You get home on Easter Sunday, and you do some sweeping up. You sit down, you watch the Reds, and then you celebrate. So that's how you should handle it there. And I think the Leiter you might be thinking of maybe is Mark Leiter Jr. I know Al Leiter played for the Mets, but Mark Leiter Jr. is the guy who's in the bullpen. I think he was with the Yankees for a little bit. Now he's with the A's, but maybe that's who you're thinking of. Jack Leiter is the son of Al Leiter, who we found out is Mr. Blister. We found that out. You know, he was Nick Lodolo before Nick Lodolo was Nick Lodolo with the blister issue. So yeah, I think that's what he should go about doing for getting ready for tomorrow, and definitely have some fireball ready, because Trace is going to need some people to do it with if the Reds get a sweep tomorrow.
And Jack Leiter, a 25-year-old right-hander, 6'1", 205 pounds. He's made 39 career appearances. 36 of them are starts. He came out of the bullpen 3 times for Texas back in 2024. He's been with the Rangers for his entire 3-year career at this point. Has a career 4.75 ERA, but last year in 29 starts, 3.86 ERA for the Rangers. He was 10-10 on the year. So it'll be a good matchup for the Reds. Another right-hander on the mound. Be interesting to see if Tito runs out the exact same lineup tomorrow, or if he tinkers with it at all based on today's results. Before we go, we want to take a moment to thank Homage. Chatterbox Sports is proud to sponsor, or proud to partner with Homage, and we've got a special deal for you. The first 100 listeners get 20% off site-wide. That includes all the great t-shirts, sweatshirts, and everyday gear that you see on your screen for all of your favorite Cincinnati sports teams, whether it be the Reds, of course, the Bengals, Xavier, UC, FC Cincinnati, or if you just prefer, they have entertainment styles as well. Mike, what what's your favorite part about homage? I see you
Well,
rocking your shirt today.
Yeah, I'm wearing my I think is homage Grateful Dead shirt, but my favorite part is the durability. I think I mentioned on a previous show that my wife had to make a t-shirt blanket. I don't know if you know about those, but it's basically you cut up old t-shirts and make a blanket out of it. That was the only way that she was getting me to get rid of some of these t-shirts because I just love them so much and will continue to wear them, and we ran out of room. So that's my favorite part. It's like they're all so soft and they just last forever. They don't get this weird bacon neck either. You'll see on other people. I don't mean to call anybody out here, but
On this cheap t-shirt that I'm wearing,
but I love it. I have so many homage shirts. I think they feel great. They look awesome, and I'm just thrilled that they're a sponsor.
Absolutely. To get your 20% off, use promo code chatter at checkout. Just go to homage.com/cbox. Use promo code chatter, CHATTER, for 20% off site wide. Some exclusions do apply, like starter jackets and New Heights gear. All right, Reds and Rangers back at it on Sunday. Reds looking for the sweep in this one. We look forward to being back with you on Sunday night. It'll be Trace and Nick Fowler. Once again, that'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern time. They wrap up the series tomorrow with Texas before heading to Miami for a 4-game set with the Marlins. Until next time, everybody, for Mike Hart, I'm Craig Sandlin. This has been Chatterbox Reds. We appreciate you tuning in. As always, go Reds.